Well, hello, and welcome out once again. This is Josh Goodman, and this is A Goodman's Tale. Here at Goodman's Tale, we talk about the nitty, the gritty, the up, the down, the good, the bad, the ugly. We talk about, life's greatest victories and life's greatest defeats. Basically, here at A Goodman's Tale, everything is on the table. One thing we ask is if you enjoy an episode, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so that we can get the word out there of what we're doing here. All right, that being said, let's get it. I'm here today with Joshua Benson. So you got a tale of two Joshes today.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop. As you know, we kind of open up each conversation with an icebreaker, or in this case, several icebreaker questions. So the first one is, which do you prefer, brushing your teeth or washing your hair?
Brushing my teeth.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can brush my hair every couple of days. Like I need to
Well,
brush
you got,
my teeth
you don't, yeah,
every
you don't
day.
have, yeah.
Now I don't have any hair as of 2 days ago. Yeah. But no, brushing your teeth, man. 'Cause you gotta brush it every day.
Well, you do, yeah,
If you don't,
yeah.
then...
But I mean, for the sake of enjoyment. I mean, I like massaging my head, so it's like...
Well, if it's enjoyment, then yeah, because I just like being in the shower, period.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
Anything
right?
that's in the shower is better.
And recently we got, at the Goodman House, we got a water pick, which is like this jet water thing that you kind of clean between your teeth with.
Really?
And that kind of has revolutionized the whole toothbrushing, thing.
It's making it fun?
Oh, yeah, because you're like, and it's cool. Okay, so next question. If you could skydive or base jump. Now, let's explain to our listeners first the difference. Skydiving is done out of an airplane. Mm-hmm. You go to 10, 12,000 feet, and you jump out of a plane. You free fall for, I've done it twice, and I think you free fall for 2, 3, 4 minutes, and then you pull the chute, and you glide down for another 7, 8 minutes. Whereas base jumping is, you got a cliff, you got a bridge, you just haul and run and jump off of that thing and almost pull your chute as soon as you have launched off the cliff. So if you could choose, which one?
Skydiving. Because then you get at least a longer free fall.
Absolutely, yeah. And honestly, it feels like we got to do it sometime. It feels like you're flying. It's
I've never done it before.
No, but I brought it, and we had a great time. Now, I did see a video clip once of a guy who was skiing, right, and went off the cliff with his skis and then base jumped from there. So
That's cool.
that might be pretty. Or I've seen them where they ride motorcycles or whatever. Yeah,
pull a James Bond with a motorcycle and then go off the cliff.
Yeah, go and and if you water skiing or snow skiing, have you ever done either?
Are you talking about water skiing, like with the?
No, so you have what is that called? Jet ski.
Yeah, with jet ski.
Yeah, jet ski. Or what I was talking about though was actually water skiing behind a boat with 2 skis. I think that's the most similar to snow skiing.
I probably would rather do the water skiing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't water skied since I was probably 10, 12 years old. And I remember when I learned how to water ski, my Uncle Bo was riding his boat. We were on the Swanee River in Florida. And man, I just kept face planting. Every time I'd get up, I'd be like, bam, bam, bam. And in like fashion, when I learned to snow ski, I felt like I counted like 18 times the first time I went down. And the next time it was 16. And now, it's pretty enjoyable stuff. And then finally, last but not least, favorite. And should we say favorite superhero, or should we say which superhero, if you could pick any, which one? I think we'll ask that. Not your favorite. Which one would you want to be out of all?
It would still be the same. I'd still rather be Superman.
Superman.
Yes.
What about in the Marvel universe? Because that's obviously DC.
In the Marvel universe? That's harder. Probably Spider-Man.
Spider, really?
Yeah.
And you're down with his powers. That'd be the whole agility and the Spidey tingle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is it's also he's really smart.
Yeah.
Like he builds his own stuff.
That's
like I know
true.
I know in the MCU they've made it seem like Tony Stark helps him.
Yeah.
But in the comics, he made everything.
All of his
he
own
didn't
stuff,
need Tony Stark.
Yeah.
So
I think well, I got to be honest, right? Because my favorite DC, and this is because I'm the water guy has always been Aquaman.
Really?
Yeah, and if
Yeah,
I could, if I could swim with the fishes and have super speed underwater, and
you can just make your own waves.
Yeah, right.
You
Yeah,
go surfing.
I would definitely be Aquaman. And then in the Marvel universe, man, that's tough. I mean, yeah, so we said the Marvel universe, so we don't necessarily have to operate within the MCU, though. The cinematic MCU universe, we can obviously go over to like the X universe, and it could be Deadpool.
Yeah, because like a mutant would be awesome. Probably someone like Magneto.
Logan. Be Wolverine.
Yeah.
That would be I think a much more difficult question. I think in the MCU, the cinematic universe, I would probably say, I wouldn't say Spider-Man. That wouldn't be my.
In MCU, it'd be Iron Man.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
You're rich.
Oh, okay. There you go. You
have the technology.
Yeah.
And
I'd probably have to say.
then if you follow the comics, like he gets to a point where he has Thor armor.
Yeah.
Like Asgardian made.
Yeah.
Armor.
Where it's indestructible. All right, so let's jump into our questions today. And really, I love that we're having this interview today. Because last night we record this on Thursday. We'll air it tomorrow on Friday. And last night you had a youth ministry. First off, tell me about kicking off Renew Youth at Cliffdale. What has that looked like for you? When did the process begin?
I think the process with you and I began probably 2 years ago when we were beginning to talk about what the vision for it would be and how we would go about it and how we'd make it happen. And I think, obviously in the last few years as we've been talking about it, we've just been trying to take it slowly, make sure that we had the foundation to do it. And then we just finally had to just make the jump and do it.
Yeah.
So.
And it was interesting because with COVID, that's obviously affected everything. Start dates on children's ministry, doing special events. I mean, there's not an area of ministry that COVID hasn't affected. And obviously that's part of the reason why we had to wait this long to kick it off. But for somebody who might be watching and saying, hey, I'm wanting to kick off a youth ministry at my church, give me some ideas. How did you guys do it? How did you do it?
Man, the first thing I did was I definitely first talked to you. Kind of asked you, picked your brain about what you did when you were a youth pastor and like how that went for you, and like how did you operate with your student leaders? How did you operate with your adult leaders? And just how much did you dedicate to doing that?
Yeah.
But then the second thing I did was then I reached out to a bunch of other youth pastors throughout Fayetteville because I want to know what's going on now as well.
Yeah.
And a couple of them reached out, and now like I'm a part of a youth pastors
coalition.
Group. Yeah. And so we usually meet up once a week and just kind of brainstorm, strategize, talk about our lives, our ministries, personal lives, and just kind of feed off each other.
That's so good. Yeah, I know for me, so I had an interesting thing take place. I was in Puerto Rico a couple of weeks ago, and I mean, they were stacking 3-4 meetings a day, boom, 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 boom. But the meeting that I was most intimidated by was doing a youth revival rally where there was going to be a couple hundred students, and I was going to be ministering, preaching to them. And I mean, I'm preaching in front of 1,000, 15, 20,000 people, right? And man, I was intimidated by the thought of standing up in front of a bunch of teenagers. It's been 10, 15 years since I was a youth pastor. I enjoyed it immensely when I did it, but I'm like, am I going to be able to relate? Are they just going to blow me off? Are they going to all be on their phones, just, doing whatever? Luckily, it went over well and had a very productive time. But ministering to youth today is not the same as ministering to youth 10, 15 years ago, like I was. So what do you think some of the greatest challenges of reaching our youth today?
Well, I would say that they're even more different. They're even different than I was.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have cell phones to distract us necessarily. Yeah. Obviously we would talk and maybe step out of the building, but now you have phones, you have
Internet, you have all
social media, you have all these things that can distract them.
all the apps, everything. You know?
But I would say that one of the biggest challenges, I think, is just, I think that very much now people are okay with, they are still trying to figure out who they are, but they are definitely, I feel like, more okay with who they are now.
Yeah.
Like, people are trying to be who they are.
What about this? Let me ask you this, because so one of the challenges, right, that we face today, and I know many parents, maybe if you're watching and you've got teenagers, in today's society with, individuals in their gender identity, their sexual orientation, for you, how do you kind of face some of those issues that are facing our youth today?
Well, so far I haven't had to.
Yeah.
So far, because it's still kind of new. But if I had to approach it, it would definitely I would just talk to them. I would definitely steer them towards what the word says. But I would still also get them to understand that, God loves you. God wants a relationship with you. Understand that this is what the word says. Let's see how we can navigate you to this direction while you're figuring this out. Because like I said, we all have things that we're still trying to figure out. What's important is that they know what the truth is, so that they can make the decision for themselves.
And I love that you said that, because that's so imperative. So many times as ministers or as pastors, even as Christians, we feel like it's our job to impose God's word on everybody else, and no matter who it is. We feel like, we're going to say to the homosexual girl, we're going to say to the person who's questioning their gender identity, we're going to say to the person who's sleeping around, or the person who's doing drugs or drinking or whatever. Man, that's such a key word. We are there to help them navigate. We're not there to shove the word down their throat. We're not there to beat them up with the Bible, but we're there to say, hey, maybe you want to consider some course corrections. Maybe let me offer you some ideas, some thoughts maybe that you had not considered before. It's not our job to, I'll say, captain their ship. It's our job to help them navigate the waters that they're going through.
So I gave a sermon last week about us being the salt and light of the world. But one of the things that God kind of spoke to me after the fact is where the scripture says, like, if salt loses its taste, what use is it? But then God gave me another analogy. When we make food, we add salt as we need, and we do it in the intent for it to taste good. Yeah. We do it lovingly. We do it intentionally. And that's how we are supposed to be with other people. But imagine if we dumped a bunch of salt on our food, it'd be ruined, right? Because it's too much. Yeah. And it's the same thing if we come down on people. Yeah, we got to give it to them in a loving, healthy dose. Yep. When we pour it on them, like a hammer, that's why people get offended. That's why people leave the church, because you're bashing it over their head. It's not coming over with love. So that's like another analogy. Is too much salt ruins it.
And I think a lot of individuals who, adults now, but who were youth in the church, they got oversalted. There's a lot of church hurt. There's a lot of individuals who are no longer wanting to go to church. They kind of have come to the point where they believe in God, but they've disavowed the church. And I believe that part of the reason for that is for, Christians, a saying that people have often heard me say is, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yeah. And we've done well in letting everybody know how much we know, but we haven't done well in letting everybody know how much we care. Yeah. So that's how you kicked off. Give us a report. How are things going at Renew?
Well, we're averaging about a dozen kids.
Cool.
Some of them are, like, a couple of new people will drop in. So I'm trying to tie in with them, but it's been going awesome. I feel like the kids are definitely receptive to what we're teaching. I love the fact that we're able to have small groups within that time, because I feel like that's where the most effect is happening. I hear from my wife about how the ladies are going, and she says that they really have good conversation, and she's able to, like, challenge them, with whatever the week challenge is, and she's really good about, like, keeping up with it. And so I had to, like, up my game and really challenge them. And some of them didn't really have a challenge, so I was able to even like challenge them. Hey, do this week for this challenge, and then come and I'm gonna write it down, and I'm gonna ask you individually how it went. So
what does a Renew youth meeting? What does it look like?
So at this moment, we have probably about a 10 to 15 minute sermon. It's usually 10 minutes because I try to keep it short. Yeah. So by 7:30, we're trying to have like a 30-minute small group. Yeah. So sermon, small group, and then if we have time, we'll do like probably a group activity game. And it's just to kind of keep things light, keep things where people are able to like interact with each other and not just sit there the entire time. Very cool.
Very cool. And running, like you said, about a dozen people meeting on Wednesday nights. I know at Cliffdale we do dinner at 6:30, then at 7 o'clock. We're able to do a little bit of worship and then separate. What kind of plans do you have for Renew over the course of the next 3 months, 6 months, a year? I want to cover that question, like any events, maybe, or ideas that you have. And then after that, I'm going to ask you the question, just kind of put them both out there. What kind of goals do you have in regards to the youth? What would you like to see over the course of the next 3, 6 months, and a year? But first, kind of events. What's
So the first event we have coming up is with the kind of coalition of the youth pastors. So essentially, we're going to be having it's a lock-in, but it's not a lock-in. Essentially, we're going to be meeting at Berean. We're going to have like a mini worship service, a sermon, and then we are going to branch out to putt and surge for like the rest of the night.
What's I know what putt is. Miniature
surge
golf.
is the
surge?
Trampoline.
Nice. Okay.
Center or whatever it is.
Trampoline park.
But they're both in Hope Mills, so they're literally like a couple minutes from each other. So.
And will you guys I know not spend the night, but will you stay the rest of the night at Surge? Or
so what will happen is that they have it in blocks, so half of the students will be at one place, half of the other students will be at the other, and they'll switch over so that both are being able to do both. And then eventually we'll come back to Berean, and then either they'll put on a movie or maybe by then it'll already be time to go. So
what time or what?
It's gonna be 8 from 8.
8 from 8 to 8. Yep, 8 at night till 8 in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Woo!
It's fun, man.
You're gonna be pulling it all nighter, bro.
I know, and it's been a while. I am 35, but and that's not old. But I could definitely. There are times now where I'm realizing that my body is fighting against me, and that
doesn't get easier. That only gets harder. That only gets more rough.
So in the summer, I would like to do a water park, essentially, if I can. Just the time where we can just go out and have fun together and just enjoy the weather, and then just somewhere in that time, just kind of just talk and just maybe have a time where if anybody wants to give their life to the Lord or even get baptized, maybe we can do something like that. Cool. Like I said, that's in the future, and that's where I've been asking God, like, what is it that you're wanting to do? And I know that God at this point is just saying, don't rush it. Yeah. Allow me to draw them. Yeah. That's good. And really so good. Really, week by week, I'm not expecting them to get saved next week. I'm not expecting them to get saved this week. I'm expecting them to get saved when the Holy Spirit wants them to get saved. Yeah. And all I want them to know is what it is to have a genuine relationship with God, because I was raised in church and I thought because I went to church, I knew God. Yeah. And I just wish that I would have understood what it was to have a relationship genuinely with God. And I think I would have probably known him sooner than later. Yeah. And that's really what I want. I just want them to know what it is to have a relationship.
Cool. That's very cool. And what about, what kind of goals do you have? And I mean, you can cover anything, goals, numbers wise, discipleship wise, leadership wise. What kind of in goals? It's in a very loose sense. When you look forward, where would you like to be in say 3 months, 6 months, a year?
I would say in the next 3 months, I would like to have an entire service dedicated to the youth, where we can have our own praise and worship team. There's a couple of the youth that have musical talent, and so I want to draw that out of them and get them to a point where they want to do it. Because really, I want them to take ownership, and want to do that. So basically, have praise and worship, have a sermon, have the small groups, have the activity. and then in the next 6 months, well, even within that 3 months, like start to find out who my leaders are gonna be,
Yeah.
and within the 6 months, be able to raise those guys up,
Yeah.
so that they're my leaders, and essentially within the year, I'd like to double where we're at.
Yeah. Now, with those leaders that you raise up in the 3 to 6 months or so, as they begin to kind of rise to the top, define like their leadership role. What would they be doing? Would they be leading a ministry in the youth, a small group, both? What do you see those leaders leading?
Well, the leaders, so we would have student volunteers and we'd have student leaders. So student volunteers, they would be helping putting things up, tearing things down.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But my student leaders, they would essentially be running small groups. They would,
Yep.
I mean, maybe not necessarily small groups, just depending on where they're at. If they're mature enough to do that, then absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to take ownership of that. Definitely being able to facilitate the games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Facilitate the praise and worship. Because ultimately, if the less adult involvement
Yeah.
in that, I feel like the more theirs it is,
Yeah.
and they'll take pride in that, and they'll take ownership of it, and they'll start to reach out
Yeah.
and grab people.
Well, it's
come
the
in.
principle of investment. If you can set their hand to something, they're doing something, they are investing in it. As they invest in it, it becomes theirs.
Mhm.
They own it, and that's exactly where you go with it.
Yep.
And what would you hope? You say double in size, so we go from 12 so people now up to 20, 25. How many leaders would you hope to have? Student leaders, not your adult.
Probably about half to half.
Half to half, yeah.
Yep.
That'd be good. Mm-hmm.
And the way that we would get double is, like, I want to do missions, like
Yeah.
local missions. Like, I want to go out and show them what it is to apply what they're learning,
Mhm.
not just be sponges, but to actually pour that out.
Yeah, yeah. And we've got, one thing about Cliffdale is we have so many great opportunities. Getting involved with the food bank, giving away food on Wednesday nights, the outreaches that Miss Barbara does. We've got contacts with Operation Inasmuch and Habitat for Humanity. There's all sorts of, we don't have to bring them necessarily to Haiti or the Dominican Republic, but there's all kinds of stuff we can do here for them to be involved in helping out individuals who are in need of help. And I think that's, again, that is simply offering them another way to invest. And if you can get, again, little key nugget, y'all, if you can, whether we're talking about marriage, family, job, ministry, doesn't matter. The key to it all is investment. Us being able to invest and those around us being able to invest, because that means that ownership is taking place. And if ownership is taking place, that is something that we can corporately invest in and see a corporate. It's the principle of synergy. And synergy, what that means is it means that, in layman's terms, we're better together than we are separated. It means that I can earn $1, Josh can earn $1, and so we have earned $2. But if we work together, we can earn $10, which is $8 more than the $2 we would have earned. And that's the principle of synergy. So if we can get those youth involved, that synergy momentum begins to take place. So I think you're right on point. Parent watching, why should they bring their youth to Renew?
Because you're going to get a place where they can actually be themselves, but they can also be assured that they're going to hear the word. And there's not going to be pages torn out of the Bible. It's going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. But it'll also be a place where they know, hey man, you can be yourself, you can say what you need to say, and it's not going to be in judgment. Like, we want, and even if you mess up, this is a safe space where you can come and say, hey man, like, I need help. I need you to stand with me in this situation that I'm having. Because there's so many times where, like Pastor Josh was saying, where we want to like beat the Bible over someone's head, but really, like, did Jesus do that? Did Jesus do that to Peter when he denied him? No, he actually loved him and allowed him to come back into the fold, and basically was just waiting for him to, come back. And he said, "Do you love me?" And he said, "Yes, I do. Feed my sheep." He's like, "Do you love me?" "Yes." "Then feed my sheep." And that's what we want. We want a place where kids know, hey man, I'm still a work in progress, and I'm just trying to figure this out, because we're adults and we're still trying to figure it out. So if we're still trying to figure it out, then they definitely are, and they need to know that that's okay.
And that's a safe space to do it in.
Yep.
That's really good. Last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Ministry life. So you come on board, right? And you're doing maintenance around the church. Now that transition of not just doing, but actually ministering. You, your wife Megan, how's it fit?
I'm sorry, you're gonna have to say that one again.
Like, so you're entering in. You started the youth ministry how long ago?
It'll almost be a year.
No, the youth ministry.
Oh,
how long?
Ministry.
When did you kick off? A month? 2 months ago? A month ago.
Yes.
So you're just launching this thing. So
Yes.
that facet of ministry life.
Yes.
How's it fit?
I mean,
does it fit your family? Does it fit your wife? Or you guys,
We're still working it out in some places,
Yeah.
but that's because she's a full-time programmer.
Yeah.
And I work at the church. I would say it's more of a challenge for her, but she's working it out because she knows that the heart that God's given me for the youth, but ironically the heart that she's had for youth.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where now that it's being drawn out of her, like, she's finding the room to do it because she loves kids, and she understands what it is to be at that age and the struggles.
Yeah.
And it's so imperative to have people that can empathize.
Yeah.
Or is it sympathize?
Empathize. No, because
And it's so imperative to have people like that. So even the Rebecca Houses of the world, those people, they know what it is to be in that situation, and they want to help steer the kids in a direction better than the ones that we went down.
That's good. Yeah, help them like you said, navigate. That's really good. Really good. All right, guys. Well, that's about all the time we have. Of course, as always, thank you for joining us at A Goodman's Tale. Josh, thank you for sitting in on the interview, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Good stuff.
Appreciate it.
And as always, guys, listen, get out there and live life and live it to the best.